I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please observe a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll call the roll, beginning with myself. I'm here. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Stevens?
Here.
Commissioner Paulson?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
We're all in attendance. Okay, I see there is no public comment scheduled for today, so we'll move on to administrative business, please. Anybody have anything more?
Commissioner, I had one question that came up over the last week, and I just wanted a little guidance. Somebody asked if the motion to televise work sessions included work sessions of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I just wanted a little clarification on that before I made an answer.
Well, there was no stipulation on the motion. We didn't limit the motion.
What do you think, Jim?
That was
If
my
they want to
interpretation.
televise?
Would that be up to them if they want to do it?
You mean the work session that they do or with us?
If they have work sessions at the Planning and Zoning
Not with
Commission,
us, Mike, by themselves.
would we want those, was the board expecting those to be televised as well?
I don't think we addressed that.
I'd say it's up to the planning commission.
Bring it up to them and let them decide? It don't matter to me either way.
Okay.
Well, I think we might as well, as long as we're going to be televising work sessions, we might as well televise all of them. It kind of,
And I tend to agree because that a lot happens down at the planning commission. Those meetings are a lot longer and a lot more in depth, and then when they bring the results back to us. So if we're going to do it, we probably need to do it for them too.
I agree.
but we can see whether or not they object.
But we can run it by them. I'm just saying that's my thoughts on it right now. But if I had to give guidance, that's the way I'd go.
What do you think?
How I interpreted it was that work sessions, including any work session of a committee that is normally televised, that would be.
I don't know why we'd leave it up to them. They're appointed by us, and this is just getting it out in the public anyway. So I would just say that we do them unless they come back with some kind of reason. I just say we go ahead and do them at the work session also.
Okay.
Jeff, do you have an opinion?
I know. I just thought about a few people on the board that are going to be televised now.
Yeah, one in your district in particular. I'm going to talk to you about him.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
Okay. I think that.
The consensus?
Yeah.
Do we?
That's what I needed to know.
I don't have a preference because I didn't want to have televised work
I'm
sessions
fine.
anyway.
I'm fine with it.
I got something.
I had one item on the administrative business.
Mr. Stephen?
We had talked about when we got to a certain point on this Flatlands issue of issuing a letter from the commission that would go to the KDHE about our concerns about the lack of enforcement and going to all of our legislators. So I wondered if we could ask staff to draft that letter and get it prepared.
Didn't we just settle the lawsuit and
Well, this is
kind of limited on what we can do on this, or?
I don't think so. I don't think we have any limitation on influencing the state government, KDHE.
Commissioners, I can certainly prepare a letter, but I would ask for some guidance as to what you wish the letter to say.
Well, I'm not so sure now's the time to be doing it. We've got an agreement with them. They're going to have to provide in the next 60 days this stuff, and we know we're going to be talking to KDHE on other issues. If you want to prepare it, go ahead. But I don't think that's just the only area that I was concerned about. But I'd sure wait to give this agreement time to flush out. Just my thoughts.
I agree.
And then we'll put that on hold and
Well, I've been getting phone calls from folks, and the smell has not gone away. The problems are still there. And I thought that once we resolved this, we would. I've also been talking with the legislators. I talked to Beverly Gossage yesterday. She's in charge of the Public Health Committee. I thought we were free to use our influence to try to get the KDHE to enforce their own rules.
I'm not saying that, Mike, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying that, Mike. I just think the timing right now is we've got something in place that we're trying to help those people up north, and we need to give it time to work. When we write that letter, I don't think it's just one area I'm looking at. KDHE isn't the same it was when I was city administrator in Lansing. They used to really come down and crack down and be available all the time. And I'm not against what you're saying, but I want to get past this first. Just my 2 cents, commissioners.
Would it be appropriate to just have it, not necessarily to specifically name any kind of specific issue, but just that we have concerns regarding overall enforcement of policy that KDHE has in place? I don't know, but maybe we should just.
Well, if we're going to wait, we should wait. I think we should wait.
Okay.
But Jeff has a list of violations and rules they haven't followed.
Well, we don't need we don't need to get into that, Mike. Honestly, we're with the attorneys and we're trying to fix this. And I think on the show that good faith on both sides, I think we need to give the opportunity for the agreement that we passed to work.
But getting KDHE to enforce their own rules
Mike,
doesn't have anything to do with our.
It does the way you said it, and I think we need to wait on that personally. I'll prepare the letter, get it, but let's give us a little time, then bring it back to the table. My 2 cents, Madam.
I'd rather send a letter to KDOT and see if we can't get more funding for roads.
Both.
That's
another
these
issue.
people in Easton would like to see us take some action.
And I think we did last week.
And I'm getting those emails too, Mike. I'm getting plenty of them.
No. I feel like they're not enforcing the rules from the state. I'm going to continue to talk to legislators about it, but I feel like it has more force when the county commission as a whole signs on to a letter. But
We signed on to a letter to get our local ad valorem tax money back, and I didn't see anything happen.
Well, we signed on to a letter also to get the Atmos lines, and that was successful. So we have had some successes. But if you want to wait, obviously that's your prerogative. But I do not agree with that.
Well, and I think this is something we're going to have to address pretty soon because this bleeds over into other SUPs. Any SUP that relies on KDHE to police any conditions or regulations within that SUP, we're going to have to address that. So
That's addressing them all, though.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. Anyways, you ready?
I got something else too, if you guys are done. So I've had several people reach out to me about letters they've been getting in the mail, and I talked to our counselor, David Van Paris, about selling their property.
I got one.
Okay.
It went in the trash.
Usually it's like houses. They send you one. Is this your house? You want to sell your house? But now that they've kind of found a new niche where they find vacant tracts of land in the county, and they specifically said in the letter that came out that they used GIS,
GIS to get this.
which is illegal. There's actually state statute against doing that. So I've had our county counselor reach out to that firm to send them a letter. Dave, you want to?
Commissioners, numerous of your citizens have been receiving unrequested solicitations for real estate transactions. The letter that this individual is sending originates from the state of Oklahoma and specifically references that the information being relied upon was obtained from county GIS systems. Commissioner Culbertson has discussed this with the individual. He contests that his actions are illegal. I intend to send him a cease and desist letter. I visited with the Register of Deeds on this and GIS, so we're going to take action on it. At the same time, since the individual is in Oklahoma, our ability to enforce that might be limited.
It's more than just a letter. It's a contract.
Yeah.
I want you to sign a contract.
And there's concern as to, well, I'll just say there are concerns as to the validity of the contents of the letter.
Right.
So I
I
just
think
wanted
Mary
to,
Lois has also been addressing the same
Right.
issue and having people understand, do not even open it, throw it in the trash. So,
Let's have one thing.
go ahead.
Just want to let everybody know the notice went out in the paper for the Leavenworth County City Drug and Alcohol Councils are taking grant applications right now. The application's got to be postmarked by February 28th. It's grant funds from the special alcohol liquor tax funds collected in Leavenworth County and are used for the education and prevention of alcohol abuse and drug and alcohol abuse for the youth, especially children and the youth. I'd encourage anyone who is involved with these youth programs to apply for these grants and make sure they hit the deadline so the council can review it and award this money out. Because I know we have a lot of organizations come to this board after the deadline of this wanting funding for different things.
You're right.
And I'm just saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're coming after the fact and wanting money, you're not going to get it because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have any extra money for these programs. So if you're going to have a program with youth, you need to figure out how you can incorporate some educational stuff in these and get the grant money.
Okay, well, on that same line, Mark, have we made any progress or made decisions about what we're going to do or how we're going to use the settlement money for the opioid settlement that we should be receiving?
We won't directly receive any of that money. It has to go through the state, and then there are restrictions on the use of the money when it does come from the state, so we'll have to follow whatever guidelines of the state.
Right, no, I'm just trying to get you to update because I had questions posed to me about that as well.
Probably going into the local ad valorem tax.
That's in the mail.
But no, this is a good program, and I encourage everyone to use it. And,
and they didn't use all of their funds.
And they didn't use all the funding before. And I've just been here too long, and organizations come here and think the county commission can fund some of this, and we can't, other than this program.
Thank you. Well, if we don't have anything else administrative business, do you have anything at all, Mike? Then, are you
Madam Chair,
for the consent agenda?
make a motion that we accept the consent agenda. It also includes reappointment of Doug Shumke to the Leavenworth Port Authority, and we talked to him to make sure that he wanted to be reappointed, and he said yes. So.
I need the plat pulled off of that.
You want it removed from the consent agenda?
Which one? Which one,
Doug?
J&A Farms.
So, Madam Chair, I make a motion we accept the consent agenda minus J&A Farms.
Second. Motion and a second. Begin voting with myself. Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the J&A Farms section of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin with me. Aye.
Same.
Aye.
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 Okay. So, formal board action. Consider a motion to approve and authorize the chairperson to sign the clinical agreement with St. Mary University as presented. Jamie?
Get the affiliation agreement between St. Mary's Athletic Training Department and EMS. They approached us seeking some observation rides with the ambulance service, and this is just a formal agreement between the two. We work real well with the athletic department at St. Mary's, using some of their training experience, and so this is just kind of an experience that we can give back to the athletic training department at St. Mary's. I just seek the board's approval.
I got one question from you.
Question?
I just want to make sure, and I see it here, but I want to make sure one of those. This agreement has been reviewed by legal and covers the issues of workman's comp liability in case anything would happen.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. That's all I have.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chairwoman to sign the clinical agreement with St. Mary's University as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Begin voting with myself. Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thanks, Jamie.
Jamie, do you want to come get this now? Or do you want to sit there? You're going to be presenting anyway, so never mind. Okay.
Yeah, he's down there.
Thank you.
He's up again.
Yep, well, first we need to do the, what about the preliminary? You just wanted that removed, but it's okay, right?
Yeah,
No?
I'm just going to
Okay.
vote on
Yeah, we're
Right.
fine.
Okay, presentations and discussion items. Information systems, quarterly report.
Come on down. Good morning.
it. Marlboro, how are you today?
Well, how are you?
Okay.
This report's concerning the fourth quarter of 2022. Some items I would highlight from 2022 were some rather large projects. The Cisco Duo that you're keenly familiar with, I'm sure. We deployed that for VPN and email, and then did a second round of deployments where folks had to use that in order to sign on to any workstation. So that was completed in 2022. The fiber optic network was completed. It's in use. Wonderful amount of bandwidth going between these four buildings. Very excited about that. We upgraded the call manager, which also enhanced the emergency responder component for the 911 calls from county phones. That was completed. Firewall upgrade, got that done. The wireless network project, all these Wi-Fi access points scattered around county buildings, that's been completed and in use. We see quite a few public devices are getting on those, so people are finding them whether you tell them about them or not. They're very good about that. Server virtualization, the initial one was completed. We're still doing some work on that, but the actual environment is up and running. There's just more migration work that I continue to do. And then we relocated a variety of departments. Community corrections moved to the old JDC building, which created a bit of a musical chairs environment. You empty one space, then everybody has to shift around. And then, of course, the Cushing facility where we brought departments down there. In 2023, we'll be continuing along with some of these items, like the virtual servers. I'll be seeing you guys again in a couple of weeks probably about the high availability virtual environment we'd like to put down in the Cushing facility. So I'll be back to see you for that. And then the network upgrades is one of the last large projects related to all of these enhancements that we started a year or so ago. In that initial meeting, you might recall, with the ARPA-related funding and all of that. And we'll be doing IT refreshes for District Court and the Appraiser's Office this year. And then last but not least, the revised website that I'm sure Chairperson Cos remembers well. She instigated the county replacing their website some years ago. Well, we're on our fourth year now, so this will be the year we would be renewing and also get a refresh, a complimentary refresh or redesign of the site. I sent out an email looking for volunteers to participate in said committee, and I've got 3 guinea pigs so far. I'm hoping to get some more folks interested in that so that we can give it a facelift, maybe try to enhance our opinion of some of the functionality. So we're welcome to take any feedback from anyone, and if any commissioner has feedback on the website, how it looks, how it functions, anything at all, be happy to take that down and pass it along to revise while we go through that process. Other than that, I'm ready to answer any questions that you might have for me.
I just want you to we had a really nice report from you regarding how well we were doing on not clicking.
The ransomware, yeah, I was chastised by some individuals for, jinxing the whole thing by bringing it up. So far, that jinx hasn't played out, but yeah, it's been several years. We'd had a little rash of them in days of old, but I think we're up to 8 years now. So I was really pleased about that, especially when you see your neighbors getting hammered.
Right.
If your neighborhood's getting robbed every night, you start to really worry. But so far, and I probably just double jinxed it today.
I just want to give hats off, though, to the IT department because
And
obviously
the
you're doing
employees that
and the employees are
aren't
not
clicking
listening,
those.
But you're making sure to remind us on a regular basis not to. And
I do try to keep the paranoia level high, but some of those emails do get through the systems, and we've caught them coming through where people had gotten them and sent us, hey, look at this, and it's like, don't click it. I didn't click anything.
Speaking of that, there was one that came through payroll a few weeks ago, something like that. And I went downstairs and asked them. They said, "Mike, I don't know what this is about." So you're
Exactly right.
And it had
That was
everything.
direct deposit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And it had everything on it that you would think. So I said,
How
that's
that
kinda
snuck
neat.
through the system, I don't know, but occasionally they do get in, and that's where, boy, it's the employee we got to thank for that one, because it went to about 20 some odd people got that same message. And if any one of them would have clicked it, it would have created a problem, I'm sure.
That's good.
And who wants to test your systems out by clicking it? Let's see if everything works. No, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not test that. Yeah, it's been a really good run, and hope to continue it. Anything else I can do for you?
Questions?
I'm just glad the Cushing thing worked out.
Yeah.
That was not an easy job to handle, I'm sure.
Well, all of these jobs have been, actually, these projects have been some of the more exciting ones I've had over the last 20 some years.
Exciting, okay.
The fiber optic thing alone has been the pinnacle of it all. Now that I've got all that bandwidth to play with, this is amazing. I would have loved to have gotten a hold of that, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15. But late's better than never, right?
Right.
Could have done it for a whole lot less money 10 years ago.
Yeah, but that was money harder fought for 10 years ago, too, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right.
I'm still really happy about the projects we've been able to do.
Same here.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, now, EMS and Health Department report.
Well, Commissioners, the first report will be over the EMS department. In the report, similar to Larry, this is kind of the year-end 2022 cumulative. First section obviously goes over budget. Second part is our statistics. As you can see, our numbers are pretty equivalent to 2021 numbers. We're kind of coming back from that 2020 COVID dip that we had there for a while. Our statistics are kind of balancing off over the last 2 years. We're averaging about 34 calls a day. That's really what it boils down to. Again, just some more statistics on page 3 for you. On page 4, again, I tallied and totaled in there specifically to all of your areas, kind of gives you a little bit of better insight. Again, those numbers are total calls, so that's not just a call with a patient and things. That's total runs anytime that we have to move a truck per CAD system. That is what are in those numbers on where we're going. Number 3, I just kind of listed out some of the maintenance. Recently, we've had some maintenance issues. 9115's transmission failure complete. And again, while we're still waiting for those 3 units, we obviously had to replace that transmission at a cost of about $5,300. So not a cheap way to start the January year on replacing transmissions out. But we were able to find a transmission. It was replaced within about 4 days. So
That's good.
that's a good thing. And it was a new transmission, so it wasn't a rebuilt or anything else. So have a little bit of success there. We are still waiting on the 3 ambulances. We have been told that probably April, May will be the first delivery, and then probably January, February for that next one. And then again,
Wow.
it's taking about 18 months build time, so nothing has changed there. The PAR vehicles that were ordered about a year ago, 2 of them have arrived. We're still waiting on the 3rd, but unfortunately when they arrived, the graphics were wrong. The graphics that were on it were a very obtrusive teal blue across, not our green graphics that matched everything else in our fleet. So we declined, and they had to go back to Enterprise to get the new graphics put on. So we're waiting on that to happen. How that happened, I don't know. We gave them all the SKUs, everything else, and it came wrong. So I also just kind of pushed in there just to outline why it was so important to buy and put that order in for those 3 units. You can see our mileages on those ambulances are starting to pick up. That also goes hand in hand with we are going from the field to Kansas City hospitals more and such, just because that is the new way of you have to go to a hospital that has specialty on cardiac and specialty for trauma and specialty for this and that.
Yeah.
So some of that happens. We still are working real well with St. John's Hospital and CEO. I just have a meeting with them. We are delivering more patients, even locally. They're increasing some of their services, so it's in there, but we also have to put some more miles on when we have to take patients into the city. So holding out of those trucks and putting 250, 260,000 miles on trucks, we start putting rear ends and transmissions and everything else. So the last page is just a bunch of updates from the last of the year. You can read through those. We are starting February 1st in Academy to backfill our last 4 positions to get us back full. We were able to get several applicants in and offer to 3 EMTs and 1 paramedic. We do have another paramedic that has notified us about 4 months ago they will be leaving mid-March, kind of on a, what she calls it, a sabbatical, but she'll be leaving for about 6 to 8 months, and we'll be backfilling. We have already an applicant that is coming in from out of state mid-February. We'll interview for that could possibly backfill that position as well. So hopefully we're in good shape right at the moment on personnel coming and moving forward on that. So with that, I'll entertain any questions for EMS department.
So on the total calls for like City of Bayshore and Fairmount Township, would that be, if you add that up, would that be the total calls that ambulance left the fire station, or would there be some stranger they went to?
Yes, that is, again, that is just in those geographical where the call. That's not what ambulance responded to that call.
Okay. You know what the total is for the fire station at Fairmount runs?
I would have to try to pull specifically I'd have to build that report, and that's not an easy, because again, ours is a system. We move trucks all the time, and it's based on an as needed, and it's a system of the 5 ambulances that are within our county. So if a truck goes out, a supervisor even comes over from Station 2 to Baser to stand by. So we move trucks all over based on backfilling and needs and trying to get units to the closest. And that also, if you look at the High Prairie, it looks like there's a lot of calls in High Prairie. A lot of times that's a mandatory standby. High Prairie is where we stand by there at the county shop when the last ambulance in the county goes to the middle of the county for that standby, so it's an equal out to any location within the county.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to the health department, same thing, budget at the top, statistics come back up considerably. A big portion of that obviously is WIC services, as we have gone away from completely online and remote. WIC clients can now start coming back into the health department, and that has really drove numbers up with allowing clients to come back in. They're hitting more appointments. The appointments are now back to exactly what they have to be versus remote, just where it's a phone call and doing some things. So statistics are really elevated coming into 2022. Some of the big things that are going to be good to talk about, the health assessments that we did for the county was a success this year. Hopefully, again, we can do it this year, and we'll see more individuals out at it. We did 132 through those health assessments. That was a pretty good success there. ELC, I will be coming back here in the near future to get approval for replacing all the conference room furniture, and I've been talking about that in equipment, so that'll be coming back. We have 3 audits coming up, pretty significant audits. The first will be here February, I believe, 9th, and that'll be the immunization BFC. The feds are actually coming with the state this time to do the audit. So they'll be there on site going through every part of the immunization plan and protocol and looking at all of our immunization things. Then we'll have a family planning audit, and then in March is the WIC audit. The WIC audit this year actually is going to be a virtual audit. So it'll kind of be like a Zoom, and we have to send documents and everything else and walk around with cameras. It's going to be kind of a different scenario. But every year prior to this that we've ever done it, they've come out. We've been kind of a model WIC, and we've had other WIC departments throughout the state actually come out for training at ours and such. So that's kind of a proud moment. We did have a longtime WIC clerk actually leave us, following her family out to Carolinas. So we are interviewing, I believe, tomorrow to backfill that position. So hopefully be back up to staff. We are still looking for a nurse. That's been one of the harder positions to really backfill. But healthcare in general is struggling to backfill some of those positions, and we'll keep trying, and hopefully we'll get a candidate someday for a nurse position. Any questions that I can answer?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I've been reading some lately about this myocarditis cases after mRNA-based COVID-19 vaccinations in adolescent males. It seems like there's some incidents that it's higher. There's several studies I have looked at. Has the state, what's the latest information on that? Has the state given you any information on that at all?
No, I don't have anything to report on anything on that.
Okay, and when folks receive the vaccination that are in that age group, do they get informed consent that these studies are out there, or are they just not told?
No, everybody that comes in that is seeking any of the COVID-19 vaccinations has the ability, two things. One, we can give them a paper copy of the entire vaccine, or they can scan a QR code that will link them to all the CDC documents and everything else. So all the information is out there, and they do get a signed consent before they get a vaccine.
Yeah, it just seems like this seems to be an issue that's coming up in some of the literature that I'm reading about on these vaccines, and I just wonder,
Yeah, I've seen it too, Mike. I've seen it too. Yeah. More lately.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Anybody have anything else? Any other questions for Jamie? Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Want to come get this, or do you want to wait until after the meeting?
Jamie.
Becky.
You want this so that you don't have to come
Actually,
back?
Becky needs to make copies
Oh,
of
Becky.
these. We're getting
Okay.
scanned.
Jamie's not
Maybe
running out
you
the
might
door
want
is
to
what he's
get
doing. Make a run for it, Jamie.
Come on up, planning and zoning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right. So, again, this is the fourth quarter report for the Planning and Zoning Office. We'll start off with the most asked questions. The department ended the year with 107 single-family new home permits. That is both new homes and renewal homes. We don't have really a good way of separating that out in our system, so that would be new and renewal. We had 143 accessory buildings in 2022 as well. Special use permits were down. Again, we did make an amendment to the special use permit regulations that do not require special use permit holders to come in every 5, 10, 20 years now. Obviously, those business owners are very happy to hear about that change, but that did mean we do not review as many special use permits as we previously have. Temporary special use permits were up for 2022 from 2021 by about 5. Rezonings were also up. Subdivision plats, as you can see, were also significantly higher in 2022. And again, I feel that we will probably see higher numbers in 2023. We've already received a number of subdivision plats applications this year so far. Track splits and BLAs were down a little bit, and then variances were also up. In addition to all the various development cases that we regularly review and the building permits, we also did some bigger projects like the wind energy conversion system regulations adoption that did get finalized, as well as amending our sign regulations to make them compliant with a Supreme Court case. We are in the process of trying to finalize our 2023 annual comprehensive plan review, which you guys had the work session with the Planning Commission last week. We hope to have that back before you at the beginning of March. In addition to that, we will begin working on the track split amendment if you guys so choose after today's work session. So that is on our radar as well. In 2022, staff did adopt that rolling deadline, which has really kind of streamlined the process for applicants going through the development cases. So that has been working well. Other than that, I think the only major thing that we are working with is probably the Planning Commission. it's a relatively new planning commission. We have a lot of new members on it, so we are in the process of trying to create education sessions, which it sounds like we will now be televising on YouTube, so everybody can learn about the planning and zoning process. But other than that, if you guys have any questions, please.
I've got one that I could ask.
Okay, go ahead.
I was talking to Mark the other day, and I was on our SUPs, and like that. I think a few months ago, your division was given the chore of maybe looking at some things that we could tighten up, or some things that we could do to maybe not get in some of the situations that other people do. Is that still on your list?
Yeah, absolutely. We were just having a conversation about that this week. So I know County Councilor Van Paris has been working on some language, maybe adding some conditions specifically outlining some of the concerns that have been raised.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Amy?
Don't like to see the building permits go down, because that's the only thing paying the bills around here. It's not like there's a bunch of new businesses coming. So with that, you hear a lot about we lose a few businesses because we don't have the labor pool. And I mean, as recent as the VA decision going to Topeka, that we don't have the labor pool here. How do we fix that? I mean, I know this kind of bleeds over into the economic development portion that we're going to talk about, but are we doing everything we can to accommodate people that are trying to move to our county? Or are we making it the opposite, making it more difficult?
Well, Commissioners, I know a few years ago we got the study from the state of Kansas, actually, that said that the state of Kansas had more jobs than people to fill them. Statewide, in the metropolitan area, that was specifically a challenge. So I don't think we can probably address that. I don't feel we have any policies that are impeding people from living in Leavenworth County. I think the bigger challenge is there's just not enough people that are moving to the metropolitan area to fill the need for jobs. The one way to address that, and Tom can speak to this when he's up here, but the term affordable housing is out there, and that's one of the things they talk about, getting a bigger workforce. And as you can see when the county appraiser comes up here, our definition of affordable housing in Leavenworth County is probably not what is truly affordable housing. And our average, I believe the average value of a home in Leavenworth County was somewhere around $275,000 for value, and then the new home pricing is over $400,000 now. So
This way on the
Well, we're not the only ones talking about it. Everybody's talking about affordable housing.
I know, but I think that also it's fairness to us. I know that based on the information I'm getting from workforce partnership meetings and things, is that it's an issue for Wyandotte County and Johnson County as well. I mean, in Wyandotte especially, more so than Leavenworth and Johnson County. So that's just an issue in general right now. So go ahead.
I think one thing the commission has done in the past 3 years or 4 years, however long it's been, is made work to make it a positive environment to come and build a home. We've made the red tape go away on the SUPs. We don't require you to keep coming back if you don't change anything. So that's some government layer that we've cut out. And then on the land use plan, we've dramatically expanded where you can build a home on 2.5 acres.
After you go through a rezone hearing and send out letters and drag that out and get neighbor against neighbor.
I mean, we've tried to make it. We've tried to make it what we can do as as a commission, but we don't control this. I had one question also. On the Building Codes Committee, you said that they elected a chair. Have they met this year?
I'm not aware of any time that they have met. Usually they are meeting if there is a request to vary from the building code or if there's any amendments to, which none have been proposed at this time. I mean, we just adopted those building codes a couple of years ago.
Well, because I talked to one of the members from my area, and he was saying that he didn't think they had met, but he would like to, have an opportunity at least once a year to offer some amendments to the what are we, the 2006 code? Is that what we're on? You know, so hopefully they can have an opportunity to meet.
Yeah, we can definitely reach out to them and see if they want to hold a meeting and talk about any amendments. But like I said, nothing's really been brought up to staff's attention on something that should be looked at.
All right, thank you.
2012 codes.
2006.
2006.
We're kind of we just did basic codes.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, right.
Baby steps.
Well, it seems like I read. Maybe it was the cities that adopted 12.
Yep, they did.
Okay, that's what I
But
got that.
do we have any other questions
No,
for Amy?
not for me.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
And then now economic development, Tom. Come on down.
How are you today, Tom?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Smith brought up a great point that, labor is a struggle, and not just in the Kansas City area, but really nationwide right now. And there are a few questions that are out there, like where the heck did the workforce go? And as COVID began, a lot of people just stopped working. And now how those folks make ends meet is a great mystery to me. But a large portion of the workforce simply disappeared. In fact, in this number, and I think I've given this number to you before in previous reports, but it still remains that in this country we have 10.5 million vacant jobs and roughly 5.5 million people sort of kicking tires looking at those jobs. Unemployment within the county, I don't know that I gave you that statistic in the market snapshot in the last few pages of my report, but I believe the unemployment rate in this county is somewhere around 2.6%. And when you start talking about those levels, you can generally make, and again, this is going to put somebody out, but you can generally make an assumption that anybody who wants a job has a job. When it's somewhere below 3%, you can pretty much make a reasonable assumption. Now, there are certainly some exceptions to that, but generally that's kind of what we can reliably go with. On the subject of housing, it is a great puzzle at this point for a number of reasons, and that would be one, simply the cost of housing. And if you are a developer, and I'm speaking to you now as someone who was previously an affordable housing developer. If you look at the current cost of building things right now, from a developer standpoint, you can get a better rate of return if you just go build one giant house that a few people can afford than to go build several that a lot of people can afford.
No, it'd have to be subsidized by the federal government.
Absolutely. And even the subsidized projects, and really how it, getting a little bit off track, but I think it's interesting to know, and since the subject of affordable housing comes up a lot, when you get into affordable housing, you really rely on what's called low-income housing tax credits, and that's a bit of a misnomer because a lot of people fit into that. We're not talking, low income tends to drum up certain images, but that's really not what we're talking about.
You're right.
But when you get into the numbers of that, the developer gets a somewhat significant developer fee on the front end. Now, if they can hang on to that number, that's what they get to keep at the end. But they rarely do because of cost escalations and a number of problems that come up during construction. But once those units are built, say an apartment building is built, and I'm familiar with one where there are 36 units. It's a senior living facility, a wait list forever. So they have no problem with vacancies. But that developer doesn't make revenue until 34 of those 36 units are done or are occupied, and they only make really profit each month on those final 2 units. Now, nobody in their right mind would go through all the heartache, the headache, the problems, the trouble of building for $1,700 a month profited, on that deal. So numerically, it is a puzzle that there just don't seem to be a lot of solutions right now. But also, as we look at just general housing, the big catch right now is that the market and the desirability of the market is changing in a significant way that probably none of us in here really appreciate. And that is, the younger generation views the single-family house, the 2-story colonial style, 3 or 4 bedrooms and some acreage, or a large yard. They view that as absolutely grotesque. the younger generation wants a smaller place. They want apartments, townhomes, places they refer to them actually as crash pads. And I'm talking about young families too, as crash pads where they go to work, they come home, they throw their stuff down, they use the rest of their expendable money not on the riding lawn tractor, but on travel or experiences or whatever they're particularly into. So right now we are seeing a significant shift in what housing looks like in America, and it's just an interesting time. It's an interesting time because it is a multifaceted puzzle with very complicated solutions. So with that, that's really not what I came up here to talk about.
Sorry to get you off track.
Good information.
Before you jump into what you are going to present, would crash pads be something that would, like in our comprehensive plan, we try to get the higher density near the cities?
Absolutely. And the name of that game really is density, because you want to make it. You don't just want to build, a number of units of housing out in the county. Those folks need to be closer to amenities, to grocery, to shopping, to car wash, fuel, whatever.
So then all the shotgun houses and stuff in the city of Leavenworth should just really be hot on the market for young people, and just
absolutely.
We can make them hip.
Yeah, those are the.
Well, this is another area where we have incentivized and made it a good place to move, because we have a comprehensive plan that focuses on the higher density being near the cities and the lower density being out in the county with your 2.5 and 5 acres. So this is another area where we have proactively as a commission worked and made this happen. So I think that's a positive thing.
And I think we need to point out that the city of Leavenworth last night approved with some of their ARPA funds some low-income housing units, some duplexes, and some future development that they're looking at that is really going to address some of the low-income housing needs within this local area.
Some crash pads.
But Tom, you're right too. Affordable housing, the name, because I dealt with that in Lansing, my city manager, and people get this thing that you're, all kind of crazy things. But affordable housing also, there's a income level that you have to match to be able to do it. So it's not like in some of ours that we built out there. I had police officers, EMS, teachers. It depends how many was in it in the thing. So it's not like what some people like to drum up. They're really decent places.
Yes.
No, that's exactly the case. In that, as someone again who went through the qualification process with tenants and whatnot, it really is amazing who qualifies, and those income limits are significantly higher than one might think when you hear the term low income. Typically, if you make 80% or less of the average income within your county, you qualify. So oftentimes that does include your local public safety folks, your teachers, your nurses, an executive chef at a Kansas City casino qualified. And anybody who watches food TV, you think they're all millionaires. They are not. But no, it is fairly expansive. And again, it all comes down to the quality of materials used and the quality of upkeep. And oftentimes the first question that comes up is, well, how long before this turns Section 8 or whatever? The answer is a very long time, if it ever would, because the developers have many millions of dollars in this and many millions of debt that they have to cover to get out of that hole. So decreasing your rents even further isn't going to.
Well, they have agreements with cities and states and counties to say on time limits, so it doesn't happen overnight if it happens at all. You're absolutely right. Exactly. They get those tax credits.
And it is, and those types of tax credits is a bit of it's a very feverish competition to see who is awarded those tax credits twice a year. So,
if somebody did invest and build, it would fill up rapidly.
Absolutely.
That ought to be a new spec building program then.
There you go.
Okay, we can go ahead and move on to your actual report.
Quarterly report, the economic development policy, which we've worked on for quite a while. I am getting that to our county councilor here at the end of this week, and he can do his review, and then we will bring it back to this body for approval or any sort of edits that you may have. And again, the economic development policy is really a rundown of what we can offer to qualifying businesses, whether it be tax incentives, tax increment financing, industrial revenue bonds, community development, community improvement districts, and the like. I don't want to call it a menu, But it's kind of a series of what the county can potentially offer a business that perhaps needs incentives to make a decision. The infrastructure inventory map, I think I've reported in the past that it is complete, and essentially what that is that allows us to track or to go to really instantaneously any particular point within the county and identify what kind of power there is in close proximity, as well as the water line, water size, water volume, and ability. And that's really more of a preventative map than anything, rather so that we don't get too far down the road and realize that a project that's been promised something or has been, great promise has been shown simply can't be done because of the lack of infrastructure. So that's a very valuable tool that we've put together. Also have a comprehensive real estate database that provides some analytics too. Worked with planning and zoning in December. They brought to my attention that the back of the comprehensive plan has some tasks for economic development that frankly I was unaware of until December. A number of those tasks were assigned to LCDC. Of course, that was in advance of my position being created. I've taken over some of those tasks. A lot of them, frankly, I've knocked off in the first couple of things I've mentioned to you already this morning. The big one, however, is an economic development strategic plan. And in the back of the comp plan, it references that LCDC would determine a means to fund the development of a strategic plan. Those plans are about $50,000. This is something that actually we can do in-house. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort, a lot of community engagement, a lot of engagement with you, as well as a number of other political bodies throughout the county and certainly the public. But what that plan will really do at the end is essentially sort of answer the question of where do we want to be in the future and how the heck do we get there? So it's actually a very valuable, very important tool. It will take more than a few months to put that together. It will be a significant undertaking, but we can get there, and I think that's a great step for the county in again, where we want to be in the future and how do we get there. Also been spending a lot of time studying the impacts or the opportunities from the Panasonic development in DeSoto. That includes infrastructure, housing, of course, supplier opportunities. We attended, Mark and I and Commissioner Steben attended a meeting last week that the state had put on with representatives from Panasonic. It was a packed house. I don't want to give the impression that this was a small, intimate setting of just us, but it was a packed house where they really kind of laid out what they're working on right now. And there really are a lot of unanswered questions, even on the Panasonic side of the equation. Of they know what they want to do, but they just don't know all the facets of how to get it done at this point. They're getting there, but there are still a lot of unknown variables. One thing that KDOT did, I believe, made clear in the group is that they've already made their decisions on what roads will be approved, and anything else you're going to have to fight for it and figure it out on your own. And all those roads are pretty much right around the facility. University of Kansas is also putting together what I will tentatively call a Panasonic collaborative effort, where they're trying to get a number of communities together to work together to really kind of figure out how things can be dispersed throughout the area that come from this particular project. And honestly, I can't speak intelligently on that because it hasn't started yet. I believe our first meeting is on February 22nd. And after that, I can report back and kind of let you know what direction that's going. And then here in a couple of weeks, Mark and I are actually having a conference call with the CEO of the Economic Development Authority of Eastern Nevada, and just kind of getting some lessons learned from them and their experience with the first Panasonic plant, which is a bit different because that was a collaborative with Tesla. So it's really Tesla's facility with Panasonic occupying a large portion of the interior. But what we really want to garner is, how can a county like us in close proximity, how can we capitalize on this the best that we can, and what would you have done different if the folks in Nevada could kind of turn back the clock? What would they do different from a planning or economic development standpoint that they've learned in the aftermath? And I think the tale already has to do with housing.
Exactly. That's what the announcement was, and
That's
what they
exactly
said.
what it is. It's where the folks going to live,
Huh?
and
Yep.
we know their wages, we know the numbers, don't know where they're going to live. So
Hopefully we can learn from this.
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's a shortage of housing.
Absolutely. Another note, and this is strictly under review. I have gotten a couple of calls about it, but there are a fair number of folks who are pretty convinced that the state legislature is going to pass some sort of a marijuana bill this year. So I've gotten calls from a number of entrepreneurs interested in what that looks like. Honestly, at this point, we don't know what that looks like. I can refer back to the bill that did not pass last year, that did not come to fruition last year. And Kansas is looking at medicinal. I've actually dealt with this on the Missouri side a number of years ago. I wrote some legislation for a community over there. But if that would come to fruition, we will more than likely, it doesn't really matter what county you're in. Every county will essentially be flooded with folks that want to grow it, process it, extract it, or sell it. Mm-hmm. And so whether how anybody feels about that or not, it really doesn't matter if it's.
And it's coming, Tom. It doesn't matter if it's this year, in 2 or 3 years. It's all around us.
Right.
You're right. No matter how you feel about it, it's on its way.
Right.
So how do we control it?
Exactly. Exactly. And I believe the legislation, at least last year, has offered some opportunity for individual counties to kind of set some rules of their own, perhaps above and beyond what the state legislature puts. It's taken 2 years, but as of this week or maybe last week, I believe a number of Missouri communities are finally going ahead and attempting to put their own local tax on the sale of those products. And I think that's probably the most beneficial item, financially to a county, is to be able to put their own tax on those products and see where it goes.
Would we be able to do that on medical?
That's a great question. I do not know. I think they may only be able to do it on recreational because that's what was most recently passed. So,
but say they do pass July 1, the new law comes in,
right.
And medical. Are we going to get an influx of people right away, or do you think that
the investments in aside dispensaries? I mean, it's kind of like opening up a very secure convenience store almost, not to dumb it down, or a smaller doctor's office or something like that. The processing facilities, the grow facilities, the transportation facilities, those all require significant investment and significant planning and time and security and whatnot. I would venture to, at least if you measure how Missouri went, it took somewhere from 9 months to a year for things to really start to show up.
Okay.
But the immediate interest is incredibly high. I'm not sure how Kansas is going to decipher or discern who gets to be the processors and who gets to be the dispensaries and all that. Missouri had a somewhat sophisticated process, or a painstaking process, but it kind of depends on how the state determines, who gets what or who gets to.
Is this under the Department of Ag?
I believe it is actually under Health and Environment.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, the process could possibly be similar, whatever they did when they were doing the hemp.
Yes.
Would they kind of follow?
It would be similar.
Possibly.
It would be very similar, just with much more significant oversight.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot more people.
And my understanding of that bill from last year was that the county commissioners had some say as to whether there would be dispensaries located in their counties.
I'll have to go back and look at it, but the counties do have some authority to do certain things. I'd have to go back and see exactly what that was. But
Even if they were in the cities?
I think that particular bill, I believe, put the decision on the county commissioners. But I don't know. Yesterday I was at the Capitol and I was talking to a couple people, and they were saying that they have a new chairman of the Fed and State Affairs in the Senate, and he is opposed, and that's where the bill is.
Right.
So
that remain
who
stalled
knows?
there.
Absolutely. But again, just kind of want to be prepared for it if it does.
Right.
If it does grow legs and get going somewhere, so we're not caught flat-footed and have to make some hasty decisions. continue to work with each of our communities, working with a couple of communities on specific initiatives that they're contemplating at this point. Begin meeting with local lenders regarding some small business support. The county website, it's pretty much in the bank and ready to go. I just need to get it to IT and see exactly how it can fit together with our existing website. And again, that's really just sort of an introduction to economic development and the services that we can provide from this building. Future Business Park Task Force, LCDC, it has not yet been created, or LCDC Report Authority has not yet been created, but we will be well represented on that and fully participate. I spoke to the Leavenworth Lansing Chamber of Commerce, their Leadership Industry Day a couple of weeks ago. That was a great experience, and shared some philosophy about economic development for the county to those folks, and it was a good day. And finally, I'm now representing Leavenworth County on the Goods Movement Committee, or the Logistics Committee, at Mid-America Regional Council. And the final couple of pages, again, as I provided this the last couple of meetings, simply a market snapshot of what our industrial, retail, office, and multifamily categories currently look like. Everything, for the most part, is very similar to what it has been. Retail sales in December were generally down nationwide, not a ton, but enough to get the ire of economists. It was down about 1.1%. And the reason for, you would think, we're essentially out of COVID, things are going better, everybody who kind of wants a job has a job, but people started off as the pandemic essentially concluded, into what was called revenge retail. They were just buying things because they wanted to buy things. They were tired of being cooped up. Buying things made them feel good, whatever. Now they're starting to realize it doesn't feel good because inflation is way up there, as well as credit card debt has significantly surged over the past 8 months. So retail is starting to drop a little bit. However, something called revenge travel is fully in full swing, and that is folks kind of shaking their fists at the time COVID kept them indoors, and now they're traveling all over the place and still spending a chunk of money on travel. So it is an interesting time in the economy, and with that, I will answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for Tom?
You talked earlier about the TIF and IRBs and all that. Are any of this, is the cities, are they supportive of the CIDs, stuff like that, a community?
Yeah, generally I think so, because a CID is fairly non-invasive. The customers of whatever that business is ultimately pay for it. So if they don't like it, they can vote with their feet and go shop somewhere else or go do something somewhere.
And Kansas only
Fairest tax there is.
There you go.
Kansas only started allowing that about 10 years ago. Missouri had it for a long time.
Yep.
CID, that's a great tool to use.
It is, and that's, it protects investors.
Yep.
The businesses are going to try to lure people in. They're going to be really good businesses.
Yep.
But that's not going to affect us out in the county.
No.
It's just we got to be supportive of the cities to do
Right.
The market statistics you gave, the multifamily housing and all of this, is this metro statistics or is this
Leavenworth County specific?
Okay, Leavenworth County.
Yes.
That's good. The other question I had on the economic development strategy that you're coming up with, I know when we had our subcommittee or our task force, we were talking about Leavenworth County Economic Development, your office would have certain tasks, and then Port Authority would have certain tasks, and LCDC
Absolutely.
would have certain tasks. Can you kind of flush that out, where we're at on that?
Yeah, I showed it to you, I think, my last or previously quarterly report. I can send that to you.
Yeah. But is that, has that sort of, I know that's kind of been a work in progress.
It's been done, yeah.
All right, so you think everybody's on board with it pretty much?
Yeah, everybody has been. Everybody's kind of, I don't want to say staying in their lane because we do support one another along the way. But yeah, I'll send you
that's what I like. I think that's going to be the best thing we can make happen is everybody working together.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the work you've done.
Thank you.
It's certainly been a good thing bringing you on.
I agree.
Jeff, you have anything?
Nope.
Anything else?
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Tom.
you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else we want to go ahead and kind of report out with what we've done for the week, or
Started?
what? Oh, do I start?
You're the chair, you do whatever you want.
Oh, I
Do
get
whatever you
today.
want.
Okay, well, let's see. Last week I did the NECAP Board of Directors meeting, and that was very interesting. And then did some work with the Workforce Partnership. We selected the vendor contract for the Workforce Partnership provider for the WIOA. And we're going with the same, the committee decided to go with the same contractor that we've been using for the past 15 years. And with instead of a 4-year contract, we're going with a 2-year contract with 2 more years to be able to approve, because there were some things of looking for more innovation for youth, trying to get youth engaged in the employment market, because that's kind of been a struggle for all 3 counties as well. And I went to the City Commission meeting last night, and as I said, they had a really good discussion with the group of people who are working on the affordable housing initiative, and approved some ARPA funds to support that. And I think that's it.
Okay, of course, we attended the LCDC annual meeting Friday. Attended Wilbur Grisham's 100th birthday party at the VFW in Baser, and I went to Mid-America Regional Council yesterday meeting, and then I'll have Baser City Council tonight and Fairmount Township tomorrow night.
Mike?
I attended the update last week about the battery plant, and that was very informational. And in addition to our folks from Leavenworth County, Dale Eisman from Linwood also joined us. He's on the Planning Commission down there. So it was good to see everybody's kind of getting as much information as they can. The LCDC luncheon, I'm going to be meeting with the new president for lunch to have a conversation. Met with a family and a representative of an organization about flatlands. And today I'm going to go to the KAC meeting in Topeka after this is over. And yesterday
Thank you for going for that.
What's that?
Thank you for going to that.
Are we signed up for that or not? Because originally I wasn't going to be here.
Well, after you said that to me today, I looked and I had signed up. I did it online, I guess. I didn't know if Becky had done it or not. But and then yesterday I attended the March for Life. Was in Topeka. So.
Jeff, do you have anything?
I had the Mid-America Regional Council Board of Directors meeting yesterday with Doug. We got a 911 Mid-America Regional Council meeting today. Tomorrow I'm meeting with Colonel Meisenheimer to extend the meeting that we had previously with General Beagle about pilot checks from the federal government for Leavenworth County. And then talked to our county councilor about pipeline safety. We're preparing a resolution we'll have ready for you guys to consider about high pressure gas lines not being buried in the county.
That's excellent.
So I should have that ready in the next week or two, don't you think, Dave? That's about it.
Okay, just a couple, went to Matt out in Lansing, the planning economic person. He's taken a job up north as a city manager. Nice farewell with him. I'm having lunch with the city minister in Lansing today. Also, on February 3rd, I'm up here, the leadership class, Tom was just talking about it, to the Lansing Leavenworth leadership class has asked me to speak on the county. So I'll be doing that up here in this office for about 20 minutes. That's all.
I forgot I had a meeting with the League of Women Voters Saturday, too.
That's right.
About the LAVTR, so they were very interested in hearing about that.
Keep preaching.
Do we have anything else? Anybody have anything else they want to share?
Other than just our Mid-America Regional Council dues will be increasing a little bit. So, guess we won't be able to follow Senate Bill 13 again this year.
JCAB meeting tomorrow. Be attending
Oh.
Atchison. Okay,
Need a
well,
motion
need
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh,
Public comment.
Public comment. What do we have?
did you sign up for public comment, Mr.? But you're welcome. No, I just I didn't know you were. Okay, I was just checking. And you signed up for public comment? No, that's why I didn't ask, because I didn't know.
I was just interrupting before the conversation took place.
Motion and second.
Okay.
Have youth go first.
Okay, hold on just a minute. We need to stop the motion in a second. Let's go ahead and withdraw your motion.
Withdraw.
Withdrawn.
Okay, thank you.
That was
Mr.
close.
Baker, please. Well,
Oh,
normally,
man.
Heaven forbid, Wes.
Becky lets us know when somebody has.
West Acres, Stranger Township, Tonganoxie. Good morning, everyone. I want to talk this morning about the budget. If I can use the lines here. So this is a very simple chart that offers two scenarios of how the budget impacts two different families. Family one, taxes and budget are somewhat in harmony. They're solvent. Unfortunately for family number two, they're insolvent because the budget is not tracking so well with the budget. So the tax is not tracking well with the budget, and you can see the outcome of insolvency with number two. That's a serious issue that we need to address. We've talked about it a lot. The action is very mediocre, and there's sympathy and caring for family number two, but sympathy and caring is not action. It takes action to make change, not sympathy and caring. It takes action. Okay? Now, I'm going to flip this around and blow everybody's mind away. That's the goal for 2024. Put that on your refrigerator door tonight. That's the goal for 2024. Let's get in step. Let's make it happen. Let's take the action. This is Leavenworth County government we're talking about. This is where the decisions are made. This is where the action starts. Now, to take this further, it's never too soon to talk about the action, to talk about the budget, okay? Let's be proactive early in the year and find ways to prevent the budget, to reduce the budget and mill levy before, this is January, before we go the whole year to October, and then we're going, oh my God, what am I going to do to change the budget? Well, it's too late. Just like last year. We sat here, looked around at each other, got our hands under our rear ends, sitting on our hands. No action. No action. Very little action. There was a lot of help with the final outcome where the mill levy was reduced. And I applaud that, and so did the citizens of Leavenworth County. Now, what are we going to do this year? Well, who can take the message back to the department heads and support all those involved in the budget activities to join an initiative to control spending as proxy for the citizens of Leavenworth County? Who can do that? It's got to be somebody in Leavenworth government, and I bet they're in this room. I submit there's a fine line between patience and procrastination. I'm not a procrastinator, but I am out of patience. The citizens of Leavenworth County hold their representatives, the people in this room as a huge majority of Leavenworth government. The citizens hold their representatives and the team in this room accountable for their motivation and actions to drive fiscally responsible results and positive effect on their daily lives. That's what the citizens of Leavenworth County expect from the government in this room. Not sympathy and not caring, action. Action happens to make change. Otherwise, there's no change without action. If this seems unreasonable or inactionable, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Put it on your refrigerator door tonight.
Mr. Lamb?
Well, I was looking for the chairman.
Chairperson.
She's right here.
Oh, okay.
Chairwoman?
It's not listed.
Oh, it's
sorry,
not?
I didn't know that.
Oh, it's not on
You-
her name tag.
This should be a
Thank you,
she has a name
sir.
tag on.
We'll take care of that.
These are the pictures that I gave to the city. I'm hoping you take those two things and put them in a folder
Sure.
for the education anytime it comes around for our history. It's extremely important.
I agree. Thank you.
And it starts with two Ks that I know of.
These aren't classified
Thank
documents,
you.
are they, Mr. Clem?
Well, they're classified right now. She can
Everybody's Corvette.
pass those on if she's.
Just want to make sure we didn't have classified documents leaking out here.
You know, it's amazing you can listen to the dissertation, then as you have prepared, it changes. But I want to back Jeff up here a little bit, and Mike. They brought up roads. There's a fire station thing. There was a George Sprague that used to work here, and he wanted to have a county fire stations. I thought it was interesting. We used to have about 720 miles of roads. I don't know what we have today. It was interesting. A guy that lived out in north by Easton, he wanted to take over his own road, and they said, "Well, you don't have insurance." The guy said, "Well, we'll take out. I'll take out insurance." Oh, that was me. I wanted to take over my own road, maintain. Well, that didn't work, you know. But I did, with 2 to 4 ladies, take over, putting a petition on, and we voted on it for the county to take over all the township roads. And I wish I could remember those ladies, see if any of them are still alive, because they need to be rewarded. Volume. There were 10 people last night. Didn't hear a word that was said at the city meeting. It's like flying on a TWA. Oh, they're not in business anymore. TWA $50 million airplane, and the captain comes on. He says, "Well, nobody heard that." So you got a $5 PA system, and you got a $50 million airplane. It just doesn't work that way, you know. The guy was given the economic. Every so often you'd hear him come in, and then he disappeared. So you need to do something about the volume. It would be appreciated by the more mature in the world. I don't know if you've been approached about giving money for the new bridge up here, but I've tried to figure out what oohs and ahs, and I mentioned this last night. What's an ooh cost? Well, is that $1 million? And what's an ah? 1.5 million? Because when I listened to the road and bridge thing, I happened to interrupt KU playing basketball. Don't know how I did it, and there was the bridge thing going on. And all I could hear was the city commissioners, God bless their hearts, ooh, ah, ooh. Well, Ed Chapman, Captain Chapman, had been on the board for about 50 years dealing with Missouri. Missouri doesn't care. They're not going to ever vote it in. There isn't a person that's in here right now that's going to be alive when Missouri comes out and puts in a 4-lane road. So we're putting in a 4-lane bridge. That's all right. Going to have a walkway and coming across a nice area where you can get a run to jump off anymore. But you got all that high structure. You don't need the high structure. That's an ooh and an ah. How many million can we shut out of that? How about the tolls? Oh, we're not going to have tolls. Now, wait a minute. All those people living over there that come over here to work, we're going to support them now. We support their, supposedly, people that are on welfare. We support Douglas County that's on welfare because they bust their people in because we have a lot of food programs here in Leavenworth. So all you got to do is do the same thing as they do it on the state highway, I-70, right? Colorado takes a picture, and you get a pass. I got a pass to go on I-70. So it's a very simple process, and I hope if they say, well, we'd like a couple $100,000 from the county, that somebody says no. Now, Clyde Graber, God bless his heart, he's not with us anymore. He told me one day, he said, see this book? These are the state statutes. Anybody have a copy of the state statutes? I used to keep a copy of my own.
I used to, yeah.
Yeah. Renew them every year. But this is what it looked like. Now it looks like this.
Yeah.
And it just keeps happening at all levels of the government. Can't think of anything more other than the roads. You know, our night meetings. Well, I served, 2 full sessions and one before I got wokatized. And I went to the dictionary to look up wokatized. And I looked up at Harvard, Yale, all the Ivy Leagues, which I used to have a respect for them. I don't have any respect for them at all now. But they defined what woke was. And I went to the Common Dictionary, and it had 2 words listed for wokatized. One started with B and one started with S. So I thought it was very interesting. But the roads, we can't take care of all the roads. We can't take care of all the things that are going on in life. But if you want an answer to your question, Mike, on who to check with, now I flew for 4 years in Iwakuni, Japan. We flew up the coast of China, up the coast of Korea, up the coast of Manchuria, up to Vladivostok. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, that's the main east border military area for the Russians. And I'll guarantee you, if you want to find out, check with Xi, and he will tell you what's going to happen on the Chinese Communist virus. I thank you for your time. And as it says, you got to know right from wrong. Can you afford to do it? And in my day, somebody didn't have a sense of humor. They were wokatized.
Thank you.
You have a good one. And
too.
Now that I know that you're the chairman, ma'am, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dolly didn't want to be.
You have a good day.
You do not.
Thanks.
You ready for them?
Okay, we'll go ahead and
I'll
still
make
motion to
a motion we
adjourn.
adjourn.
And I'll second.
Okay, beginning with me. Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Meeting is adjourned.